Nearly everyone living in Australia has sat on a Featherston chair. This quote emphasises the scope of influence Grant and Mary Featherston had on modernist furniture design in Australia. Perhaps the most popular and celebrated furniture designer in Australia, Grant Featherston was born in the regional town of Geelong, Victoria in 1922. These formative years for Featherston would go on to inspire and cement a successful career as a modernist figurehead in Australia. Enjoying a middle-class upbringing, Grant spent the days of his youth in the backyard shed, experimenting and playing with different materials. He later credited his love of nature and the environment in his younger years, along with natural materials, as inspiration. His first creation with his father, an encouraging man, was a folding desk at 8 years old. This acted as a catalyst for his future work. At the time, the town of Geelong was seeing a modernist upheaval, and with this, excitement for the movement grew. Featherston attended the local technical school where his sketches garnered attention from a Melbourne glass manufacturer. Subsequent to this, he spent time at Newton and Gray. Here he was introduced to plastics and all the ways in which they could be used, formed and manufactured. Working with these industrial materials, he gained both an education and a role as a wartime industrial designer. The Second World War had a vast and meaningful impact for modernist designers of the time, and dominated a range of cultural and political factors of Australian life. These effects were both positive and negative. There was a shortage of workers in the manufacture of furniture due to enlistment and war-related work. Supply was also limited as the emphasis remained on providing materials for the military. Despite these societal shortcomings for the industry, the 1950s saw a newfound post-war optimism. Advancement in industrial machinery had improved, experimentation and knowledge of material use increased, and there was a certain optimism in the air. This became a reflective extension of how people wanted to live in their homes. Home ownership was part of the Australian dream, and with this came the inevitable demand for architecture and suitable complementary interiors. With a boom in population that affirmed this demand, Featherston, like other local designers, began experimenting with a range of materials available in the country at the time, including native timbers, Australian steel, and recently developed foam and plastics. The war cemented Featherston's fundamental belief that human experience should be the central concern of all design. This statement reinforced Featherston's personal design philosophy of design for life. The early 50s saw Featherston working from a small factory in Collingwood, Melbourne. Reminiscent of his youth, Featherston continued his experimentation with design, all the while working on commissions from private and commercial clients. He played around with the concepts of materials, upholstery, sketches, and other design technicalities. During this time, perhaps his most well-known design, the contour chair, was developed into a range to suit a number of uses and versions of armchairs, rocking chairs, and dining chairs. Grant Featherston was undeniably innovative when it came to his creations, utilising a combination of natural and manufactured materials including formed plywood, hardwood, horsehair wadding, latex rubber, upholstery fabric. The chair enforced the design principle of form and function. The use of both traditional and modern industrial materials was a representation of the modernisation society was witnessing through furniture and its needs. The contour chair was created with the human form in mind, and this is when the exploration of human-centric furniture for the masses became part of his work. The series was a response to architecture of the time. Houses were smaller, compact, and required lightweight furniture that was functional, could be moved easily around, and interacted seamlessly with open-plan spaces. The R152 contour chair was the answer to these requirements. The chair was famously conceptualized by Grant tearing a tram ticket in two, subsequently creating a curved armless design with tapered legs. Grant didn't just build chairs, but molded the materials into gentle curves and edges. The contour chair would go on to be a touchstone of Australia's growing cultural sophistication with the Contour series. The recognition of mass market consumption was apparent. The 50s was a fruitful time for Featherston as demand grew for his designs. He licensed the contour chair to Emerson, allowing for larger production quotas and a greater focus on a growing market. With a successful showroom and collection in his arsenal, Featherston began to work with government and commercial clients utilising the elements of functionalism. This involved the production of practical furniture such as storage, sideboards, desks and seating for clients like offices and government bodies. From this functionalist period, working as a consultant designer for Aristoc Industries, this gave him an introduction to a range of modern metalworking technologies. From this role came one of the most revered designs, the Mitzi chair, a stackable metal chair created with a tubular steel frame upholstered in vinyl. Popular in both public settings such as halls and function rooms, and domestically, in the average Australian home as part of a dining setting, this chair further incorporated the two of Featherston's fundamental design principles, design for life and form and function. 160,000 Mitzi chairs were produced over the 10-year period of 1957 to 67, thus emphasising Featherston's influence on a consumer-driven market. The popularity of this chair reinforced Featherston's influence on the local industry and how the styles, technologies and industrial factors were synonymous to the advanced work of other modernised countries and designers like E. Grant Featherston married his second wife Mary in 1965, and the two not only became life partners, but a collaborative team in their work. Whilst Grant maintained a focus on furniture, Mary dedicated her time and knowledge to the design of educational play and learning environments. Most notably, Mary carried out the interior fit-out for the National Gallery of Victoria between the years of 1966 and 1968. During this period, one of Grant and Mary's collaborative efforts included the Expo Mark II sound chair, debuting at the Montreal Expo of 67. This chair reinforced their innovative efforts of incorporating the modern world into function. Consisting of molded polystyrene covered in wool fabric, the chair included a speaker fitted into the headrest, allowing the chair to play audio. Fittingly, it was colloquialized as the talking chair. This pioneering design allowed the sitter to become the listener at the same time. Featherston has gone on to influence a range of contemporary Australian designers today. Furniture and homewares brands such as Matt Blatt draw comparative influence from Featherston designs, as is apparent in their modernist replicas. Although many may imitate Featherston, his work is iconic and recognisable in Australian modernist design. Despite his passing in 1995, Grant Featherston has upheld a legacy like no other in modernist Australian furniture. Not only do his pieces live in museums across the country and the world, Featherston is responsible for making his functional furniture a fixture in the homes, halls, banks, government buildings, and so many other spaces across Australia. He has posthumously maintained a cult-like following with retro and vintage furniture collectors who will often pay eye-watering amounts for a Featherston piece. The work both Grant and Mary Featherston have undertaken makes them cultural cornerstones for the Australian design movement in its entirety. Featherston was quoted as saying, "The essential fundamental of all design is human use," a sentiment which is so apparent in all of his work.